New England, next game. Opens 3, leaning to 3.5 to 49. It's now 3 with favoring Minnesota, so there's dog money here, and it's still 49. Minnesota looked very good last week, but they did play part of that game against the third-string quarterback for the Rams. And the Rams defense did not show up. Perhaps they're losing Bradford, then losing their backup quarterback in Hill. It took a little bit of motion out of them. They didn't perform. But Minnesota's for real. They got a new head coach. They got Cordell Patterson. They got Adrian Peterson. They got Castle at quarterback. This is a sleeper team that we need to keep our eye on because they can compete with the Packers, the Bears, and the Lions. This is not a team to disregard. They could easily outperform those other teams and compete in that division. There's going to be a lot said about New England here because Tom Brady and Belichick off a loss. That was a division game. That was a big game for them to lose. Now they're coming here to Minnesota, and believe me, they're going to be like fire-breathing dragons going into Minnesota, want to punish this team. I don't know that they can. They're playing on the road, playing on a different surface. They're favored again on the road. Didn't perform well last week, but it's not going to be hot and humid in Minnesota like it was in Miami last week. I don't know that this is the right line, and I think the bettors right now are saying so because they are favoring the underdog at the 3 number, which means 2.5 is a very likely number to show up. Something to watch. We've got another team here. Next game, New Orleans at Cleveland. New Orleans 647.5. 6.5, and I see one place where it has 7. New Orleans is a powerhouse football team. 44.5, 44 is probably the right number. San Diego has some offensive line problems that could hurt their scoring potential. It will hurt their scoring potential. Nothing is more important to a quarterback than the ability to stand up and be able to throw the ball, and that's going to be an issue for San Diego this week with the offensive line problems. Houston comes off beating Washington. Houston looked okay in that game. Washington looked terrible in that game. So you got to give a lot of credit to Washington for Houston's victory. But Houston, new coaching, new quarterback, a retread quarterback. At Oakland, Oakland's rookie quarterback who looks okay, but he's got a lot to learn. A lot of short passing last week, never went downfield at all. Houston's defense is very, very strong. Yeah, they lost Clowney for 4 to 6 weeks with an injury to his knee. Unfortunate situation. Houston's a favorite here. They opened 340.5. It's pretty much stayed the same. Not much movement at all in this game. I don't think anybody really knows what to do with these teams. I personally think Houston is a better team than people are giving them credit for. And Oakland is probably a 4-win team, 4 to maybe 5. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for them to win very many games. They're really not that good. And I think they ran the ball last week at the Jets for 25 yards. Running the ball is very important. Yeah, you can make up for it by a lot of short passing because, you're not looking downfield. You can dump the ball off, so that can take over some controlling the offense by short passes instead of running. Yeah, and I think that's what they tried to do last week with Derek Carr, inexperienced quarterback playing his first game. Home opener for them, which I don't really think it matters. Oakland has never had a strong home field advantage. Houston's the right favorite here. I don't see it moving very much, but this could be 2.5 or 3, I think, by game time. I don't think you're going to see a lot of action. The Jets go to Green Bay. Green Bay is another team that has 10 days of rest. Jets played at home last week, struggled a little bit with Oakland, but ended up winning that game. Ran the ball pretty well. Jets do have a pretty good, solid defense. Um, and they performed okay. But the Jets are, in my mind, are a very average football team, 7-9, 8-8. I don't think they go very far this year. Green Bay opens 8-45, and I can tell you this, that a lot of people are going to be betting on New England, New Orleans, and Green Bay. All three teams last week lost, and all three teams are looking to avoid going 0-2 to start the season. A lot of people believe that's going to be the case. So you're going to see some Green Bay action here. I do see a 9.5. I do see an 8.5, and I see an 8 right now. And the line total is 40. Went from 45 to 46. It's going to be this is a very tough situation there. That's a big number, and it's probably going to end up. I think it's going to end up higher, probably 8.5, somewhere 9. I'd see 9.5 game time, because Green Bay at home opener, off a loss with 10 days rest, is a natural team to bet on, and I think the public will bet on them. I'm not sure that it's going to be that easy, because the Jets do a couple things well. I think they're deficient at quarterback, and I think they're deficient at the wide receiver position. But they do run the ball reasonably well. And they do play defense reasonably well. And like Rex Ryan or not, and I think a couple of years ago, he's a little bit crazy with the media and everything, but this guy is actually a pretty good coach. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to coach defense. He's a defensive coach. All of the Ryans are, going back to their dad days. But boy, I tell you what, you got Aaron Rodgers at home in front of that Green Bay crowd. It's going to be noisy. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be this is a tough spot for the Jets to fall into, because the way Green Bay got beat up last week, everybody's saying, "Oh, look how ugly that was." But they played Seattle, and everybody plays Seattle, and Seattle looks ugly. So I think that's a throwaway game. I think you just disregard it.